I'm currently working as an associate director of service management, governance, and automation. So, and the organization is Novartis, which is one of the world leaders in pharmaceuticals. And my role is primarily to oversee the governance of the process adherence by the various service providers, identify opportunities for improvement within the existing environment, and make the opportunity and hand over the opportunity to the relevant teams who can implement that and make it work and show the benefits to the organization. In fact, I have 26 years of experience, and the last 17 years had been completely into IT service management. So I've been looking at IT service management primarily from the process perspective and seeing how that process is being implemented and followed across the organization. And that is precisely what my experience had been. Now, what this role expects us to go beyond the basic governance and to see what the organization is not able to see, and bring that to the notice of the organization as well as to the service provider, so that they can look into it. And that was the challenge for me. And the need, in fact, and why it was a challenge for me is people are able to see what is obvious. To see what is beyond obvious, one has to go beyond the available data and the information explicitly available to see what is hidden within that and which can actually bring the opportunities. Definitely. So data science played a very important role primarily over here because it enabled me to leverage on machine learning. If you actually see the service management data in an Excel sheet, it runs sometimes across to 100,000 rows. Now, looking into 100,000 rows about different applications being used, I'm only talking from one incident perspective. If you look at the problem, the data goes up to another 20,000 rows. If I look at service request, it goes to nearly 1,200,000 rows. Now, with such huge data, bringing the insight and showing across to the organization which they are not able to obviously see is something which is a challenge. What machine learning could help me in doing that is it enabled me to just take a download of the data, upload that onto the machine learning tools, and carry out the different analysis or doing slicing and dicing of the data to bring out the insight to the organization, which could have been a very difficult task using a direct analysis of Excel. And even if somebody does a direct analysis of Excel, it is not something which can be reproduced. Now, if I carry out an analysis today and tomorrow the data changes, if I have to do the same analysis, I have to first take a fresh load of data, do the same, repeat the same steps which I had followed on Excel every time when I do the analysis. In this particular case, what I am doing is that I just create a script, keep that to show what I want to see as well as show to the organization. As and when the data keeps changing, I just need to keep changing the data set, rerun that to see what is it that can bring. And it also gives me opportunity to relook at the same data with a different perspective and see if there's an opportunity for me to look into that and improvise that analysis on an incremental basis, on timely manner, and show new insights, which I couldn't have done using an Excel. The interview doesn't start primarily by one sitting in front of the interviewer. First round of interview, or I would say like the 0th round of interview, is when an application is submitted to the organization, it actually gets reviewed by the bot. That is the first round of interview where I don't speak anything. And what speaks at that point of time is my resume. So that is the first round, which I would say, or I would rather call it as the 0th round. Clearing the zeroth round is very, very, very important because this is a hit, this is a make or break. Because when you face somebody, it's easier to communicate. When you don't face anybody and you have to communicate at that point of time, the resume plays a very important role. The covering letter plays another very important role here. So what I did was, the entire resume and the covering letter was customized to the needs of the organization or needs of the role which was advertised. So in this particular case, I explicitly brought the various things which I did in my previous role. So if I take one step back at my previous role, in my previous organization, my previous role, there had nothing to do with data science or machine learning. However, what I did was, whenever things were taught in the class, I practiced that on the various hackathons available, as well as on the project. Carried out, did the finding, reached out to the Accredian faculty on informal basis to just get the review and share their feedback. That helped me improvise and get ready for it. Once I did that, I picked the same implementation on the data in the organization where I was already working, even though it was not required as a part of the job. Did that, found some insights, showed that to the organization, and identified some improvement opportunity. I would say this is something called as the pilot, where you do it. And this is another place called as permission paradox, whereby what happens is, without experience, you can't be given job, and without job, you can't get the experience. In this particular thing, we have to break that particular pattern, especially when it comes to a job for an experienced candidate. So whatever improvements I was able to bring, I just, opportunities were identified, improvements are brought. I just would summarize that 2-3 situations in a brief 2.5-3 lines, and highlighted that explicitly in the covering letter. Covering letter, I ensured that covering letter was less than 1 page, and in that less than 1 page, I highlighted 3 lines of 3 points of improvement which I had brought in the previous role using this particular knowledge as a pilot, even when the organization did not ask for it. Brought that explicitly, showed that to the organization. That enabled me to clear the 0th round. And then I went and sat in front of the first round. And when I sat in front of the first round, I highlighted the experience which I had brought. What is it in this particular case? The experience of the past doesn't play a very important role. What plays is, what can I do for the organization in future? So I showed that and then linked that to my past experience and showed how my past experience is going to help the organization see value by implementing whatever I've been intending to implement. That enabled me to clear the first round. Then I went to the second round of discussion, which was with the leadership of the organization. And in that discussion with the leadership, and leadership explained so many things about what are their expectations from the role, that is very important for one to know that one should not get overwhelmed at this particular juncture and show and sell the sky, because it's easy to sell the sky in the during the interview, but after one joins the organization, one needs to be clear. If he is not able to show the sky immediately, the organization will explicitly feel that they have been conned during the interview. So in this particular case, what I did was, I explicitly stated to the organization what I did which will enable this role, what I have not done, or what is their expectation which I have not addressed in the past, and how is it that I will learn that and do it by showing that the organization clearly understood of the overall expectation, what expectation they should expect to get immediately fulfilled and what expectation will get fulfilled over a period of time. And I also gave them the assurance as to whatever experience I don't have, how will I get that knowledge, how will I get that skill, how will I get ready for it and bring the difference and by what time. This particular case, the organization not only got the confidence about the knowledge and experience which I have got, which I'm going to bring to the table, at the same time, they also got to know with honesty what of their expectation will get fulfilled by what point of time. That enabled me to clear the second round of interview. Then came the HR round. In HR round, it was purely to do with the salary negotiation and the other stuff. Definitely. So one thing, in fact, before coming to Accredian, I had also been to other places where similar structures or similar stuff is being taught. But what I felt was when I had my first interaction with Suchit, I got the clarity that Accredian is one place where they don't focus only on the curriculum. They go beyond the curriculum to help the candidate get not only familiar with the concept, they also help the candidate go beyond what is being taught and see how that can be brought to what they are already doing. And they, once I got that confidence and enrolled myself here, so I felt when I was doing hackathons, when I was picking up the points of implementation which I wanted to do in the organization, I reached out to the faculty and sought their time, discussed with them, took their inputs, and that enabled me to enrich the knowledge. Knowledge, I always say, is a 70-30 kind of a thing. 30% is the bookish knowledge or the knowledge which can be pushed onto one, which happens through the regular classes of Accredian. There is another part of the knowledge which is called as a pull, which is the 70%. In this particular case, this particular pull has nothing to do with Accredian's intensity. It purely depends on the candidate's intensity on how they are able to implement what they are learning from the classes, and then when one gets into the pull mode, at that point of time, Accredian doesn't distance itself from the candidate. What they do is that when a candidate approaches Accredian to say, this is what I'm intending to do, this is what I've done, this is what I'm seeing as the findings, this is what I'm seeing as a challenge. At that point of time, Accredian helps the candidate see what is it that they are beyond what the candidate has already seen. And it also helps the candidate go beyond what they have already done to see how they can bring the meaningful insight to the organization as well as how the knowledge can be a value. This is the brief about what I have seen as a help which I got from Accredian in addressing the career growth which I intended to take. Growth is one thing which I would say growth is never taught. Growth is always taught. So how to catch the growth here? Pick up the knowledge from the classes of Accredian. See what one can do from the knowledge, how it can be implemented on the hackathons. There are multiple hackathon sites available in public. Machinehack.com is there, Analytics Vidya is there. Problem statements are available in plethora. Pick that up, implement the knowledge and enrich the knowledge what one has gained in the class. After that, sit and see, evaluate what is it that I can do in the organization which I can bring value. If one doesn't have an experience, then one can actually pick up the problem statements available through live hackathons available where the real-time problem statement is listed. Do that, find the insights, and then summarize whatever findings one has got into the resume as well as in the covering letter, because this is very important. Because the 0th round of interview is very, very important to crack, because that is the only opportunity available for one to gate crash and get insight for discussion. So it is very important to bring that point explicitly. So whatever one is able to do, customize the resume to just 2 to 3 pages. Have a covering letter which is solid, brief, crisp, and say what value one can bring to the organization with the knowledge one has got, and also substantiate that with examples available from the various implementation one has done, either through hackathon or through real-life problems picked up based on the knowledge acquired from Accredian. Put that together and then send it across to the organization. And last but not the least, when one faces the interview, be clear on what value one can bring, what value one cannot bring on immediate basis based on the knowledge. Because one, by doing that, one is able to ensure that they are able to establish the credibility through the knowledge. One is able to build the credibility to the skills that are gained through Accredian, as well as through the attitude which one is able to bring and show and say that yes, this is what I have done, this is what I can bring as a value, this is what how the organization can be built. That's the brief I would like to give to as an advice to all the budding aspirants who are currently studying at Accredian.